What's up my loves, my name is Paige, this is Paige with Paige, and today we're going to be doing my 2023 year in review. Hello my darlings! Welcome to this video. This video is the next installment in my Pages of Chaos series where I'm wrapping up 2023 and oh good lord, I am so excited to talk through the stats for this year. There has been so many interesting different things this year that have definitely surprised me with my reading. Overall, I feel like my reading year has gone quite odd. But I'm not mad at it. It's just one of those things that I was looking back and I had a lot of 5-star reads, which I'll talk about, but it was really hard to determine a top 10. Obviously, I'm happy to have repeat authors and the next in series, but I felt like they were just the staple of, you know, the next 1 or 2, 3 Katie Roberts, 5 volumes of Giant Days, and nothing felt the same way of having gripped my soul aside from my top 5. So it's been very interesting. This video is mostly going to be talking through the stats of the entirety of 2023. I will have a video that is my goals review and my 5-star prediction review. There's going to be a few more videos coming out, and I also have a few ideas stemming off these stats as well. So I'm very excited just to see where 2024 goes, but we need to wrap up 2023 first. So let's dive into the stats. First, the totals. I read 164 books, which equated to 55,058 pages. I listened to 481.13 hours of audiobook. I acquired 67 books and I reread 4. For 2024, I am going to try and just either round up or round down the hours listened because I know I'm not mathing it correctly, so I'm going to just try and get to either the half-hour mark or a full hour, either rounding up or rounding down, depending. So I know this isn't 100% accurate, but I love it. I do want to draw one comparison because reading 55,058 pages over 164 books works out to be average length per book being 336 pages. In 2022, I read 181 books and read 55,368 pages. So I literally only read 310 pages less this year, but near 20 less books. So the average pages per book for 2022 was 305. This is exactly what I wanted to happen. So I was focusing on those bigger books and was able to keep to the same pages that I read, even reading less books. I know that I've still read the same equivalency, which is so cool. Interestingly, my average pages per day is 151 for 2023. For 2022, it was 152. So I'm really not changing the amount that I read. It is literally just if they're shorter or longer books. So I think this is such a validating statistic to have because this is how I wanted my reading to go. I wanted to get out of reading 30 Animorphs. I did read 19 and just have that slightly bigger focus. I do know that there are 19 Ice Planet Barbarians and I'm starting that series in 2024. So we'll see how this goes. If I can keep this consistent and read 55,000 pages, I'm happy with that. I don't really mind if they're bigger or shorter. I'd like them to remain on average 300 plus pages, but how that shapes up, I'm fine with. I'm not going to go into the month by month breakdown of pages and books because I do that in my monthly wrap up, but I suppose I'm accidentally doing it anyway. My highest books read was 17 and I did that in 4 months with April, June, August and September. And then my lowest read was 9 books in a month, which was February, July and December. All of which makes total sense. February is my birthday and my mum's, and I think she was up around that time. December was Christmas, and then July was a really rough month for me mentally, just with having a phobia spiral. So I'm like not surprised at all, but still happy that I did manage to read consistently. In terms of highest and lowest pages, February was my lowest on 2,794 pages. And honestly, if February was longer, it would have tallied out because in December I read 2,806. So it was on par. Literally February I read 100 pages per day, and then December was 91. So it averages out, it makes sense, I love it. And then August was the exception with reading 6,420 pages. Thank you fucking Magical Readathon and the Amazing Readathon for just getting me to buckle down. One thing I noticed in comparison to last year was that after having a big month, I didn't dip. So last April I read over 7,000 pages, and then in May only read 2,000, whereas this year it just remained fairly consistent throughout the year, which I'm super happy with. I could definitely feel in 2022 I burnt myself out a lot, especially with readathons and just pushing myself to do all of the things. I don't know what I was doing in April of 2022 aside from giving myself an existential crisis. But continuing on. My average rating for this year was 4.23, which was slightly lower than 2022, which was 4.27, with my lowest rated month being June, which was a 3.94, and my highest rating month being in September with 4.59. That's so cool. In terms of overall formats that I read, I'm so fucking chuffed. My lowest was ebook, where I only read 4, which is so different from last year. I love not having Animorphs screwing my fucking data. Then I listened to 12 pure audiobooks. I read 22 ebook audiobook combinations. I read 26 physical books, and I did the audio physical combination for 100 books. 61%, smack bang, beautiful. She's a happy camper. In terms of my audience, combining children's and middle grade, I had 33. I read 44 YA, 14 new adult, and 73 adult. Breaking this down, I don't have graphs, but I have a table. My average rating per genre was something I was curious at looking at. In terms of YA, my average rating was a 4.11. My adult was a 4.36. My middle grade was a 4.03, and my new adult was 4.46. If I take out the Animorphs for my middle grade, it was a 4.68 rating. And if I take out Giant Days from my new adult, which are all 5-star reads, it was 4.17. I find this so interesting. I don't really have anything to pull from it at the moment. I do have my 2022 stats, but with Animorphs and, you know, graphic novels sort of skewing my data, I just want to see how next year goes. If I do end up binge reading a whole lot of, well, I'm going to read a whole lot of fucking manga, but if I end up reading a whole slew of something and I feel like it's going to adjust my statistics in a particular way, whether it be positive or negative, I will take it out and also do a comparison. So I'm curious to see how that goes. And I hadn't done that for 2022, I just realized I wanted to do it at the end of this year. In terms of where I read my books from, one was from KU, one was other, which I don't even remember what that was. I had 2 NetGalley books. Oh my god, that's atrocious. What was 2022? I had 10! Oh dear god. Scribd, I had 2. My library, I read 36, and that counts if it was just purely from Libby. And I read 122 of the books that I owned. This is inclusive of 26 books that came on to the TBR and then went off the TBR as I read them, as I acquired them in 2023. And I will be splitting this stat to be acquired in 2024 and my backlist for this upcoming year. But the fact that I can separate it out so easily was just like, yeah, okay, we'll have a look. But that's still 74.4% of my reads were coming from the TBR, whether that was this year or years previous. And I am so unbelievably chuffed at that. In terms of listen via, this actually surprised me. So I had 7 books from Scribd, 13 from BorrowBox, 16 from Audible, 20 from other, which I'm assuming most of those would have been the 19 Animorphs and then some other random one, and 79 from Libby, which is less than last year. I think Scribd hooked me back in. I was going to deactivate my membership, but they ended up putting the 3x speed on the app and it not warping the sound of the audiobooks. So there were a few there that I couldn't get on my Libby app, so I went to Scribd and I'm really happy with that. So I'm happy to keep that membership going because it did make up a little bit. And I think BorrowBox have stepped up their game for my library. They are getting a lot more audio ebooks as well, so curious. And then the two pie charts and graphs that I'm just so chuffed with are my series stats. I have made one little change for 2024, and I've got started and it be manga or graphic novel, because I don't include my manga and graphic novel on my overall big series spreadsheet. They're on a graphic novel and manga section, so I need to separate that out because it's not going onto my totals for novel series. I didn't read any companion novels. I did, but I normally just put them under a continuation of series, so I think I've deleted that for next year. Why am I like this? 48 of my reads, which is nearly 30%, were standalones, which is consistent to my reading. Apparently about 30% of my reads every year are standalones, which is both surprising and I just don't know how this happens. Like, I do. Because I'll pick up things, people will have recommended them to me, like my Bookish Peeps, my Book or Revisited, all of this front facing are my standalones that I haven't read, and I'm trying to work them in so they're actually in the background. I'll explain more in my bookshelf entire and read TBR thing, but I think I notice it more, so I pick them up and pop them in. I've also read a lot more non-fiction this year, so I think that's tying into that. But I started 18 series. One of those was a manga. I did also start 3 other series but decided to DNF them. So I think that's telling. 11% were started series, which I'm happy with because 36% of my reads were continuations in series, which was 59. I read 14 books that caught me up to the next release. I think there are 2 in those that are now in the continuation section because the next books got released in 2023 and I read those. So I think one of those was Wicked Beauty by Katie Robert, and then Radiant Sing came out, so that is also in the caught up, but the Dark Olympus series is only one catch up, if that makes sense. And the other was Astro Parker Doesn't Fail. And speaking of, I finished 20 series. I'm so proud. I also DNF'd one, which was the Earth Children series. I think I read the Mammoth Hunters and went to pick up the 4th one and just couldn't do it, so I decided to DNF. I also DNF'd a lot and fixed up my series spreadsheet, which I will talk about in my series diaries video, but I'm so happy. 12% of my reads were finishing off series. I do know that we're probably going to loop back to more 2022 with having a fuck ton of continuations of series, just because I've read a lot of last books, so now I need to get back to that point because I do not have many series ongoing that are close to being done. I'm still radiating the fact that I finished 20 series and I started 18. In all technicality, I started 21, but DNFing the 3 and one of those being a manga, they're not on my spreadsheet as ongoing. I can't wait to talk about the series diaries. It's like my proudest achievement of this year. And in terms of a page range, this was something I definitely wanted to look at and was feeling a bit disheartened because I hadn't read any over 1,000-page books, whereas in 2022 I had read 2 and I wasn't reading super big books. But then I realized that 17% of my reads were over 500 pages. Whereas in 2022, even though I was reading 4 books that were over 900 pages, only 13.4% of my reading was 500 plus pages. Also, in 2022, 51.6% was 299 pages or less. In 2023, 299 pages or less was 40.85%. So I brought that down by 10%, and between 300 to 400 pages was 42.07%. I am astronomically excited at that because overall, more than half my reading was 300 plus pages. My goal is to get it to 60% for 2023, and I'm not sure how this is gonna go because I got a lot of manga and Ice Planet. So, woo! I'm nervous, but I'm excited. Quick breakdown, under 100 pages was 6, in the hundreds range was 36 books, 200s range was 25, 300s range was 45, 400s range was 24, 500 range was 18 books, 600 range was 5, 700 range was 3, and 800 pages was 2. So I didn't read 900 plus page books, but I did read consistently chunkier things. I was hoping to pair up my big books with my series continuations. I read 12 continuations that were over 500 pages. I caught up on 2 series that had over 500 page books. I read 6 books that finished off series that were over 500 pages, and I read 5 standalones. I'm blown away at those stats and so happy that it tied together. I am bracing myself for 2024 to not have that same feeling, just because I actually don't have that many big books left on my TBR. I think I've got about 40 out of the 250 plus books. In terms of star rating, I had 1 2-star, 13 3-stars, 18 3.5s. That doesn't even make up a quarter of my reads. Then I had 54 4-stars, 31 4.5s, and 47 5-stars. Looking back though, even though I had 47 5-stars, it was very, very hard to find a happy, oh my god, these are the things, these are the top 10 books. I don't have a top 10, I have a top 9. So I think it speaks volumes about my reading and rating this year. I definitely became more critical, and the 5-star feeling is definitely shifting for me. In terms of genres, fantasy took the cake at 71. Sci-fi was next in line with 25, 19 of those being Animorphs. I'm so excited to not have this influence my staff. Fuck! Ice Planet Barbarians are gonna do the exact same. Motherfuck. I read 13 contemporaries, 11 non-fiction. Who am I? That's nearly 1 a month. 9 historical, 8 graphic novels, 6 paranormal, 5 horror, 5 romance, 4 classics, 2 dystopian, 2 erotica, 2 magical realism, and 1 thriller. In terms of the author status, I just do between new to me and read before. 70% were read before and 48 were new to me. So if I read a new to me author and then continued on, so say Theodora Gloss, I read The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter, so that went in the new to me, but then I also read the next 2 in the series, so that became read before. So I'm going to go through and do a video soon involving those new to me authors. I've seen this idea floating around, so I'm very excited. I'm not going to go into the publication years because that is just a lot of numbers and I've already thrown a fuck ton at you, but safe to say the large majority of my reads are 2016 to now. I'm very entertained that 2020 and 2022 took the cake, and also pissing myself laughing that 14 of them came from 2000. I finally caught up on 2020 and 2022 booktube books that I've been wanting to get to for since then. So those are my overall stats, and I'm thrilled at how my reading went, that I set these goals with the intention of reading bigger books that were continuations in series and finishing off series, and I did that. I cannot wait to talk through my series diaries and just show the differences because it makes me so happy. In my goals review, I will talk through my book buying stats and then the books remaining that I hold in 2023 that are still not read video. I will go into the balancing of those as well. So I think that's a lot of stats. I'm gonna put it here because I don't want to put this in my 5-star prediction review, but I want to talk through my best, worst, most surprising and most disappointing reads. I'll start with my worst book, which was Jack by Layla Faye. I gave this 2 stars. I get that it's a joke, but I was just so uncomfortable the entire time. My most disappointing was Uncommon Type by Tom Hanks, 12% Dread by Emily McGovern, The Wind-Up Girl by Paolo Galupci, mostly because my best friend loves this and I didn't. And The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. That was a 3.5 read, but I was hoping it was going to be higher. I think that was also my expectations going in, was a different story, so I don't think it was the book's fault, but I was still disappointed. In terms of most surprising, Boy Erased by Gerard Connolly, Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, Hangman by Jack Heath, Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes, and Letters to Father Christmas by J.R.R. Tolkien. My top 5 reads of the year. 5th is Fool's Errand by Robin Hobb. I loved being back in this world so goddamn much. It makes me so happy just to have started my journey deeper into the realm of the Elderling series. 4th was Britt Marie Was Here by Frederick Buckman. I knew that I was gonna like it, but I didn't expect to just have it nestle into my heart as much as it did. These top 3 are the ones that were in my most surprisings because I didn't expect to love them as much as I did. 3rd is Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I adored this book so much. I don't have the same expectations for the 2nd and 3rd, but I am excited to read them. But this just, it caught me unawares. It was everything I needed for the moment that I was reading it in, and it was amazing. 2nd is The Wisdom of Tea by Noriko Morishita. I didn't know I needed it, and this was for my book all revisited. I'd put it off being like, I'll get to it when I get to it. Something came up and it worked perfectly for a prompt, so I picked it up, and my god, I didn't know how much I needed this in the moment that I did, and it was such a lovely reading experience. But my top book of 2023 is What You Were Looking For Is in the Library by Michito Ayama, and this has just nestled into my heart. I was not prepared to fall in love with the characters as much as I did to fall in love with the story, to find so much peace in it. We did have an art copy, which is now gone back to Ash's work, so his co-workers can enjoy it as well. I definitely need to get a copy of this to be able to go through and annotate it. It's one of those that Ash and I will probably have a copy each. One so I can tab the shit out of my copy, and so he can just have his nice aesthetic looking one. But holy shit, this was exceptionally crafted. All of my top 5 were exceptionally written books, and there were many others that I read throughout this year that were masterfully crafted. Parable of the Talents, Nothing to See Here, Ring Shout, I'll Let Myself In, which are honorable mentions for my top 9. So that is my reading and review of 2023. I am both very surprised at how my reading went, and I think I learned this year that my reading taste is changing, and that's okay. I don't know what it is though. So I'm like, where do I go? What do I read? I don't think I'm becoming a lit fit girly by any stretch of the imagination, but I definitely enjoyed more historical literary fiction vibes this year than previously. I still love books that deal with hard-hitting topics in unique ways, and I also just really liked having a spattering of fun romances. I don't know what 2024 is going to hold. I don't know if I'm going to find new favorites, or if I've just become such a consumer of books that nothing can hit the same way as when I was reading it in a way that was, you know, actually engaging with it on a deeper level. That's just the way that I am as a reader now, and I'm okay with that. I love setting myself up for these challenges. I love being able to read as much as I do, but I am aware that I don't actively engage with the process of reading as much. So it's going to be harder to find a 5-star read, but I'm excited to try. Thank you for listening to me throwing a fuck ton of stats at you. I hope that it was okay, and I apologize, I should have mentioned earlier to get a cup of tea or a beverage of your choice, because oh damn, that was a lot of numbers. I'm so happy with 2023 as a whole. Looking back on it, I suppose I'll add in a year of review life things. Let's do that. I think that would be fun, so it's not just stats. I started bullet journaling. This is from Fox and Cactus. It's a tiny little thing. I love it so much. I have switched to an A5 and I'm finding it an interesting experience with so much more space. But in 2023, I went to 3 concerts. Evanescence, Hailstorm, and My Chemical Romance. I went to Sydney with Ash, which was our first holiday away together as a couple. We did an escape room, we spent the day getting lost, we went to the aquarium with Jacqueline and my family, and we went to Taronga Zoo. So good, so much fun. I got a ADHD diagnosis and started medication for ADHD, so my brain can actually do the thinking. So I raised about $600 for Movember. My team as a whole raised $900, so I was so happy to figurehead that, I suppose. I drove in Sydney for the first time. I had a moment with my phobia of vomit and actually successfully navigated it. It wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I still freaked out for a couple of days, but I managed to get myself out of it, which before it would have just become another trauma memory, but now it's not. It's something that I'm proud of. I think back to it and I go, yeah, I did fucking good. Yeah, I freaked out, but that's also okay. That's normal. We're learning. I read a book for a library event, so I read I'll Let Myself In by Hannah Deviney to be able to then see them at my local library. I discovered flow days, and that's just something for people with ADHD or neurodiversity, that you just let your brain go where it needs to go. You let it rest by not having to make those executive functioning decisions of I need to do this now. It's like, I feel like doing this, so I'm gonna go do it. I feel like doing this, so I'm gonna do that. Am I still in the middle of that? Yes, but that's okay, I'll come back to it. And that has been game changer. I got all my feelings sorted. That was a process, but worth it. I changed my job role and I got a pay rise. I discovered new games. Oh my god, the Not Safe for Workathon Pick Your Poison is bloody fantastic. Playing that with my family is it's an experience. I read over 100 books. I, for the most part, let go of people pleasing. There was an event that happened earlier this year where I realized I was being taken advantage of for my friendliness and my ability to do shit, and I didn't like it, and I said nope, I'm not going to do this anymore. So I've managed to let things slide and not hold on to the desire to constantly be validated by other people and put myself into stressful situations when really it's not my problem. I'm more than happy to help out my friends. I always will. But if my friends are taking advantage of that, they're not really my friend. So that was a learning experience that I'm proud of though. I hit 2,000 subs on YouTube. Like, I have zero community goal number value shit. We hit 1,000 and I was like, we're done, we're good. The fact that we're still growing. I appreciate that y'all are here for the chaos, and I love that I have built such an amazing community. The response that I had to my vlog ideas video absolutely filled me with joy, because most of the comments were, broski, will watch anything you put out. Just as long as you're having fun, that's all we care about. And that just, it made me so happy that my community is so supportive as you are, and I have such amazing people and have formed so many amazing connections. My Suffer-a-thon peeps, I adore you with every fibre of my being. For everyone who has participated in my Bookish Peeps Control My Life challenges both years past and for 2024, I love you all. For anyone I've ever been on sprints with, I love my community. I love the people that I get to be around, and I know that I'm flaky as shit, and you know, I can take 2 years to respond to people, but we get there eventually, I promise. I just really value what this community has given me, and the fact that I can give you guys chaos and you just love it. It makes me so happy that there is a place in this world that I can be authentically myself and people love it. So thank you. Like I said, there is never a continual, I do not need to hit the next milestone. If we stay where we're at, I'm a happy camper. If we do continue growing, welcome to the chaos. I didn't mean to cry. I started casual work at my local library. I got to meet Cara face to face. Oh, it was great. And in that, we had a socially distanced breakfast picnic because Ash got COVID. We both managed to avoid it, I think. I don't know how. But anyway, that was so much fun having like this socially distanced breakfast, and we just talked, and Cara is an amazing human being, so I'm so happy I got to meet them. I caused some utter chaos with Suffer-a-thon and other readathons that I participated in. I love just being a chaotic demon. I watched an entire TV show. An entire show. I cannot remember the last time that this happened. It was Our Flag Means Death, which was only 2 seasons. But it was 2 seasons. I did it. No. And I cut off my hair. So, those were 23 things I did in 2023, and I'm an emotive little bean now, so I think this was the perfect way to review my year. I had some really amazing life events happen this year, and some really amazing community events, and it makes me so happy to be a part of it and to be a little chaos demon in my little corner of the world and be able to spread that joy and love to everyone. And I hope that wherever you are and whatever you're up to, this sprinkling of chaos can give you a smile if you need it. I'm happy with this. Let me know in the comments how your year went. I know 2023 was a rough year for a lot of people, so my apologies. I hope that you're doing okay. And if it was a rough year and you don't want to dwell on that, let me know something that you're looking forward to in 2024 instead. But anything you want to let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of this mess, feel free to subscribe. I'll hopefully see you in my next video. Bye!